Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. My name is Ras Adibaradzi. We, the participants of the 9th session of the World Urban Forum, representing national, subnational and local governments, parliamentarians, civil society, older persons, women, youth, children, persons with disabilities, grassroots groups, indigenous peoples and local communities, private sector, foundations and philanthropists, international and regional organizations, academia, professionals and other relevant stakeholders gathered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to localize and scale up the implementation of the new urban agenda as an accelerator to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Led by a strong spirit of collaboration, creativity and innovation, we share our aspirations for the future of cities 2030 as the cities for all, where no one and no place is left behind. To this end, we call for the deployment of all efforts, means, and resources available towards the operationalization of the concept of cities for all, ensuring that all inhabitants of present and future generations, without discrimination of any kind, are able to inhabit and produce just, safe, healthy, accessible, affordable, resilient and sustainable cities and human settlements to foster prosperity and quality of life for all. We believe that global, regional, national and local implementation frameworks of the new urban agenda being formulated since its adoption should be supported by key enablers capable of unlocking positive transformation, such as strengthening the role of subnational and local governments, urban governance systems that ensure continuous dialogue among different levels of government and participation of all actors, and increasing multi-level and cross-sectoral coordination, transparency and accountability. Encouraging sharing of creative solutions and innovative practices which enable a shift in mindset necessary to drive change. Building inclusive partnerships and strengthening age and gender responsive environments to ensure meaningful participation and engagement at all levels. Adopting integrated territorial development, including through appropriate urban planning and design instruments to ensure sustainable management and use of natural resources and land, appropriate compactness and density, diversity of users, and revitalization of cultural heritage. Deploying, monitoring, and reporting mechanisms, including assessment of impacts that encourage best practices for effective policy making. We draw attention to the persistent challenges faced by our cities and human settlements, such as limited opportunities and mechanisms for youth, women, and grassroots organizations, as well as other civil society organizations, local, subnational, and national governments, international and regional bodies to work together in planning, implementation, and monitoring. Inequitable access to the city, including to decent jobs, public spaces, affordable and adequate housing, and security of land, tenure, safe, efficient, and accessible public transport and mobility systems, infrastructure, and other basic services and goods that cities offer. Insufficient protection from human rights violations, including forced evictions and inadequate inclusion of people living in poverty, persons with disabilities, and other disadvantaged groups in urban planning, design, and legislation processes. Gender inequalities in urban economic and leadership spheres. We recognize that today we face emerging challenges that require urgent actions, including recognizing that crises are increasingly urban, which calls for inclusive urbanization tools adapted to local contexts and to the nature of natural and human-made disasters and conflicts, as well as to guide humanitarian assistance, fast-track recovery, and contribute to building and sustaining peace. Managing the complexities of increased migration into cities at all levels, leveraging positive contributions of all, and using more inclusive planning approaches that facilitate social cohesion and create economic opportunities. Understanding the impact of new technologies and potential of open and accessible data, which require governance and design models that help to ensure no one is left behind. Addressing growing social and cultural inequalities, lack of access to economic opportunities that are increasingly manifested in cities, and responding to environmental degradation and climate change concerns. Jasmine, she's with the Malaysian Youth Delegation, part of the major group for children and youth. What have you got to say?
Thank you, Ras. We, the participants of the Wolf 9, leveraging the advantage of the forum, which convenes thousands of decision makers, key actors, stakeholders, and communities, generated a wealth of ideas. We encourage the acceleration of the implementation of the new urban agenda through frameworks such as encouraging the formulation of implementation frameworks for the new urban agenda at all levels, including monitoring mechanisms, providing a coordinated space for an effective contribution from all stakeholders, aligning to the efforts and actions of the 2030 agenda, and develop international, regional, national, subnational, and local development frameworks. Support the creation and consolidation of inclusive platforms and agendas for dialogues among all levels of government, decision makers, and stakeholders, such as regional, national, and local urban forums, and communities that can strengthen policy, review, and assessment of impacts. These can also foster exchange of experiences and cooperation, as well as scaling up voluntary commitments and actions from all partners. Further develop and advocate for integrated territorial development, which includes integration of sectoral policies, institutions, and investment, integration among the different spheres of government, spatial integration across urban and rural continuum, improved coordination across actors, and enhanced alignment of national, subnational, and local policies with international agendas. Adapt innovative and robust mechanisms for the diversification and expansion of the means of implementation to cater for complex and integrated approaches promoted by the new urban agenda. Technological innovations and improvements, research, capacity building, technical assistance, and partnership development, among others, may require enhanced resourcing. In terms of governance and partnerships, adopt multiple collaborative governance mechanisms that actively engage national, subnational, and local governments, all groups of society, including youth, women, and grassroots organizations, and particularly the excluded, vulnerable, and disadvantaged groups. This work in solidarity is critical in promoting a more buy-in and a co-responsibility in the activities towards sustaining sustainable urban development and to ensure the sustainability of all the results. Promote stakeholder constituency-based coalitions to use the implementation of the new urban agenda to better prevent, prepare, and respond to urban crises. In terms of innovative solutions, to foster a culture of creativity and innovation to be embedded in the way cities and human settlements operate. Develop monitoring and data collection mechanisms, including community-generated data, to enhance availability of information and disaggregated and comparable data at city, functional urban areas, and community levels. This would promote informed and evidence-based decision-making and policy formulation, assessing progress and impacts at all levels. Create an enabling environment and develop capacities for scaling up of good practices, including municipal finance, sustainable private and public investments in urban development and job creation, and generating value while enhancing the public good. Adopt accessibility and universal design as core principles into national, subnational, and local action plans for implementing the new urban agenda through inclusive, accessible, and participatory processes and consultations. Ras?
Ladies and gentlemen, we, the participants of the 9th session of the World Urban Forum, recognize the value of the forum convened by UN Habitat as an inclusive platform to collect inputs from a broad range of stakeholders and to feed these into annual and quadrennial reporting on progress in the implementation of the new urban agenda. We call to further develop the role of UN Habitat as a focal point in the United Nations system to support all countries and mobilization of stakeholders in the implementation, follow-up, and review of the new urban agenda, including through scaled-up normative support. We thank the government of Malaysia, thank you, the city of Kuala Lumpur, and UN Habitat for organizing the forum, and commit to provide continuous cooperation to the next host, the government of the United Arab Emirates and the city of Abu Dhabi. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.